Apologies for the late start, folks. Tough day today, man. The community, the Oiler fan base, our Oiler media group, but most importantly, his family, Bruce McCurdy. They lost an absolute beauty. His son Kevin tweeted late last night after the Oiler game that Bruce had passed away, and this was a gut punch today, big time. Yeah, this is a tough one. Struds. We'll get to Struddy's World in a couple of minutes here, and we're going to do our best to just have a normal show and push through. But Struddy, it was just like a gut punch when I got that news, man. Bruce has been an absolute mainstay in this space for a long, long time, but he's like one of the originals in this podcasting space. We're thinking about David Staples today. We're thinking about his family. But this was someone that was so unique, Struds, and added so much to the Oiler fan sphere. So much great analysis and such a unique voice, man. This is a really tough one. Oh, sorry, Struds. I think you got your phone muted there, bud. That's okay. And just so everybody knows. Yeah, there you go, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so Bruce McCurdy was a guy that I hadn't heard prior to him, to my retirement. I'm not going to lie. And then he was on the Low Tide show. And, I listened to him. And at first I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then he started talking more, and I listened to him more, and he was on Low Tide, and he'd come on there and he'd talk about the moon and the stars. And then he'd talk about the Oilers. So I was like, this guy's onto something. And I saw that news today, Shagar. I was gutted. I was very upset. I started tearing up. I was crying right away. And, he and I a text exchange not even 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. And he was a voice of calm amongst a fairly passionate Oilers fan base. And, I'm sitting here today and I feel just sickened by hearing this news. And Kevin put it out on Twitter, as did David Staples, his partner at Cult of Hockey. And the Oilers Nation has lost a great voice and a calming voice that understands what it's all about, to be a fan of a team, but also try to be a little bit not quite as emotional. And that was Bruce. Here he is. Look at this guy. He would send me DMs all the time. I liked what you said, or I didn't like what you said. And I'd say the same thing with him. And David Staples, I think, put it really well. We lost our great friend Bruce McCurdy last night. He passed on shortly after Oilers beat Vegas. My heart is broken in grief and sorrow. I never had such a collaborator and friend in hockey as Bruce. My thoughts are with his son Kevin, as Bruce's family. And Bruce was a character, absolute character, a mainstay on the Low Tide show, Shaggy.
Yeah, and the thing that really always blew me away about Bruce was how much work he would put in to try and give Oiler fans extra value. Like those player grades that he and David would do, digging in like mistakes on scoring chances against, and mistakes on goals against and goals for. And like they were always deep diving, trying to find more value. And those guys, like, it's not like they had this massive glitzy podcast that was like all, bells and whistles and this and that. Those guys loved it, and they would hop on after every single game, and they were just two buddies talking hockey intelligently and expertly. And man, this just leaves a massive hole. So to his entire family, to his partner, professional partner, David Staples, his loved ones, and to all the fans that loved reading his stuff and listening to him, just a hard day. And our condolences to everybody. So we'll take a look at his last tweet here, though. The Oilers, they gave him a win. And as he said last night on Twitter, was never in doubt, right? He was the eternal optimist, soft-spoken, optimistic, an absolute lovely, lovely man. So we're going to proceed. And Struds, you're going to put on a really good show today, because Bruce loved really good shows about the Oilers. So let's do that one for him today. We just want to take a minute to honor the man and send along our best wishes. So with that, it's time for today's edition of Struddy's World.
Got Your Back Pod Stream is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at mrdirk.com.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can't trust a forward. Listen to my words tonight. Don't just fall in love with my face. I used to be somewhat of a big deal, wheeling and dealing, no bucket in the warm-up, people carrying my bags in. How many times do I have to tell you through text, let's talk about the PK? That is a dirty hit that needs a response. I like a stiff, stout pillow. We'd rather dress nobody than dress you.
The only thing I like better than easy points are free Slurpees.
Goalies embellish all the time. He tumbled over like he was hit by a Zamboni. Am I this good, or are we just winning by 7 goals, and that's why I'm out here? Just say, I know you're right, Struddy. Just get it out. I think I am the modern-day Ronnie Dangerfield.
Yeah, I get no respect.
And now,
Let's do this one for our buddy Bruce.
Struddy's World. Here's your host, a man who's leading in the polls by nearly 40 points with the stay-at-home defenseman demographic, Jason Strudwick.
Let's do this one for our buddy Bruce McCurdy. He loved a good stay-at-home defenseman. He told me many times I was one of his top 28 favorite defensemen of all time. So Bruce McCurdy, this one's for you, my buddy. Our title sponsor today is brought to you by Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. If it's time for a new furnace, garage heater, or hot water tank, or you're looking to beat the rush on getting a new air conditioner for this summer, act now as the team over at Weiss Johnson are already seeing an increase in requests for air conditioning. Specializing in servicing your existing mechanical systems or installing new ones, Weiss Johnson's here for all your home comfort needs. Visit weissjohnson.com today. Hit it.
Weiss Johnson,
I'm down here in my office, the office where it all begins. All the great thoughts happen. Our Adrenaline Diesel studio is where I find myself today, now with an online store for all your diesel truck parts needs. Check out adrenalinediesel.ca. We've got a jam-packed show for you today, people. Oilers win last night in Vegas. I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm not going to lie. They didn't have a full roster. The Oilers didn't have a full roster. They're missing Thomas Hertl. They're missing Pietrangelo, pretty good D, but we were missing the Edmonton Oilers captain, Connor McDavid and Ekholm. Pretty two important pieces of it all. Zubie, here you are. And, you look at the game last night, you got to be pretty excited about what the Oilers did last night as far as discipline and again, the two points.
And team defense. I mean, Calvin Pickard made a couple of great stops, especially that one blocker save late on Dorofeyev. But the chances were limited, and so were the shots. So that to me is the thing that I saw that I liked the most. Shagar wants us to explain why you're talking into your phone. It's not because we're taking voice notes today.
Yeah, no, my phone, for some reason, is not picking up my mic, which isn't ideal. So I apologize to everyone. We're going to just grind through it. Sometimes tech doesn't always make it happen. But we've got a jam-packed show for you tonight over the next hour and 70 minutes or so. We got Jack Michaels coming up. He is down in San Jose. The team practices around, I think it's around 1:30 Edmonton time. So we probably won't get the lines from him. But talk about what the vibe is around the team. Darren Dreger joins us as well today. And then we've got our good buddies, Zubie and I will talk about some things on playing the field and then get off the fence. We're going to talk about Ryan Nugent Hopkins. The Nuge at center. What a pass last night. Are you kidding me, Zubes? The pass he had on the power play to Leon Draisaitl was amazing. And that is the 93 you want. And that is why I believe needs a specific position to stay at all year. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I know you're fired up to talk about this later.
I am. I have some thoughts on it. Right now, I'm panicking because we can't get Jack in right now either, so we're off to a roaring start here. We're trying to get him going here. We're juggling a few balls all at once. Here he is. We're going to have him. That's exciting.
Let me get to then the big thought of the day. You'll have to come in with a big thought of the day, like I'm a big deal. Trent Frederic and Evander Kane could make a huge difference for this team. As I watched this team last night, Subes,
Yes.
I thought to myself, there are three players, well, McDavid, obviously, and then Trent Frederic and Evander Kane, who are probably going to push three players out, at least out of this lineup, at
Right.
least those three guys. And when I was thinking about Evander Kane, now I was injured. I missed about 4 to 6 weeks at the most, maybe a bad back, a bad knee. Fast healer. I'm not sure if I was any faster, but I think I just kind of came back. But for Evander Kane, who hasn't played really any hockey since June last year, this is my concern. I want to explain that from a player's perspective. The challenge for Evander Kane, the surgery, yeah, those are pretty big issues. Then you get the knee surgery. That's a pretty big issue as well. Rehabbing, all that. But the challenge for Evander to get back, as we know he'll come back in the playoffs, is to have meaningful, full-length shifts. So we've seen a couple shifts out there, practices where he's skating hard for short bursts, and that's great. But a shift isn't 10 seconds, not 15 seconds. We're talking 45, 50, 55 seconds, maybe a minute if required, if there's an icing. So the challenge for Evander Kane is going to be to try to get to the point where he can go for a whole shift, 40 to 50 seconds hard, up the ice, back the ice, getting on the forecheck, getting a hit, and still competing for pucks. Because what drops off is your aerobic conditioning. And I can speak to this from experience, is that it takes a while to get that full ability to hang on for 50 to 60 seconds. So he's rehabbing right now, Zubes. He's out there skating, and he's trying to get himself back up, and he's trying to, respect the fact that he's had some significant injuries and significant surgeries, but he's got to get his body back up to the point where he can hang on for 50 to 60 seconds, not just 10 or 20 seconds, Zubes. And so Fredericks is a little bit different because last game was February 25th, high ankle sprain, I believe is what it is. And so he's in good shape up to that point. But he also needs to be able to keep pace. Let's say he's playing beside Connor McDavid for a 50-second shift. Can he keep up for 50 seconds? I think that's a pretty tall order if you're not up to the conditioning required.
So you maintain the cardio, in your opinion, is a bigger issue than the muscular endurance. That's where they're gonna need to catch up.
I think that's a challenge. So let's just look at Kane. So let's assume Kane comes back game one of the playoffs, and let's assume he's healthy. So now he's not only is he trying to continue to lengthen out the ability to hold on to his shifts for longer, but after the game, he's got to go in and work out. He's got to do some sprinting, maybe a bike work, but also respecting that he just came back from significant injury. But he also has the game the next day, so he can't kill himself after the game to try to get ready for the next game on an off day, knowing that he needs his legs for that game. So now it's game two, and let's say he goes from 40 seconds to 42 seconds. Well, he still has to get on the bike or run after to stretch out that length of time that he can hold that high level of endurance for a shift. And that's a challenge. He's got to keep adding to it, but without re-injuring himself or dragging down his energy levels for the all-important playoff game, Zubie.
And you're a fit guy, so you said you never endured a layoff like this long, and were you ahead of your time a little bit in the dedication to fitness that guys put in now?
I think I was at the tip of the spear. I know when I arrived in Islanders camp, my first year, there was a guy that he looked like a trainer. He had a big roast on him, and I ran around that guy like he was standing still. But now these guys are elite. They're elite conditioning. By the end, everyone's in really good shape, but it's more dialed in and more understood about what's required. And so listen, Evander Kane, I think, is a massive wild card for the Oilers about what he can bring. But my biggest concern, if I'm an Oilers fan, Zub, is his ability to perform over 40 to 50 seconds on a shift.
Right.
Not just coming out the first 10 seconds and running someone and then not having much left.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm curious too, and it'll be so interesting to see what game it is, and as we discussed a little bit last night, if there's any games in Bakersfield before it's a game with the Oilers.
You think he heads down there for a game or two?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I would think there'll be a discussion about it, but I'd love to know. I'd love to see it, because then he could go down there and, I don't know, get 10 minutes, a few 30-second shifts, bang a couple people, and be like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's a big difference. So Trent Frederic, again, he was out February 25th, and he's not out that long. It's going to be 6 weeks. He can get back. He's played games this year. Kane hasn't played since June, early June, right, or middle of June, whatever it is. So he needs to find ability to get back. So will he be open to going down to Bakersfield? I'm not sure. I'm not his agent. I'm not his best friend.
Yeah.
Would it make sense? I think it would make sense. I'm not sure if he'll go down or not. But he's an elite athlete, like all these guys are in the NHL. Can he find a path back to that length of shift that's required? I sure hope so, because they need him.
Yeah.
They could sure use him. Him and Frederic bring two elements to his team. They're nowhere else. Nowhere else, Zoobs.
Yeah. I agree. We got Jack now. You want to see what he's got to say. Well,
let's get to Jack then. Let's get up to speed now with our good buddy Jack Michaels, brought to you by Timberhouse. They had a great April Fool's joke yesterday when they talked about adding slides instead of stairs. If you're tired of those dull cookie cutter houses, Timberhouse is looking to shake things up. Their designs harness the power of natural light to brighten your days and lift your spirits, because life's too short for ordinary houses and dull living. Let them build your place where laughter and good times are part of the blueprint. Visit timberhouse.ca. There's our man. Look at Jack Michaels. Are you into some kind of VRBO right now?
You know me, Struddy. I'm Marriott all the way. So every once in a while, the status gets you a little bit more than just your average hotel room.
So classy. So I'll tell you what, Jack. So your good buddy Ryan Rashog is on the pod as well. And yesterday was April Fool's.
I understand Olivier Rodriguez starting game 1 of the playoffs. Is that what?
Yeah. So I want to take you through some of the sequence we had here. This is Ryan Rashog. We'll get to our digital Soundbox brought to you by Douglas Mattresses. Here's Shogger getting just absolutely hammered. If you're like me, you know there's nothing better than a good night's sleep after a long day. Your best sleep is just around the corner. With every mattress, they're including a free sleep bundle that includes 2 memory foam pillows, a complete set of luxury sheets, and more. With the Douglas Mattress Store in Manchester Square here in Edmonton, or check them out at douglas.ca/GYB. So, Jack, here is your buddy, Ryan Rashog, perhaps the most gullible human on the planet when Brownie 9 Zoobs lay into him.
But I'm actually now developing a bit of a concern about rest for Calvin Pickard. I'm going to go Olivia Rodrigue in San Jose and in Anaheim just to make sure that Calvin Pickard is fresh and rested.
We're worried about Pickard's workload here? Like, he hasn't played that much this season.
Well, I think there's concern now. I think I would go with Pickard in San Jose, and then I'd play Rodrigue, LA, Anaheim. I get one more game out of Pickard. I get the 2 points.
Yeah. I hear you.
What? You guys want to give him his first start in LA against a team you're battling for home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs? I'm stunned here. Zubie, like, help me out here. I'm stunned.
What's the date of that LA game? Is the 5th?
The 5th.
And what's the date today?
5th. The 1st?
The 1st.
Oh, today's April 1st.
April 1st today.
This is an April Fool's joke, right, you guys? Okay. Okay. I was sitting here thinking, oh my God, I'm about to win my first argument on the show in 3 seasons. In 3.5 seasons, I'm going to win my first argument on the show. And instead, I just swallowed the hook.
I absolutely love it. So your buddy, Jack, was like, he's like, you could see him looking up at the schedule, like, what are these guys talking about?
Did.
Like Olivia Rodrigue?
I wish you had played it out a little bit longer. That's my only regret about that segment. I wanted you to, like, get a little bit deeper and maybe throw out the idea of, maybe getting the team's attention with a game 1 start in the Western Conference playoffs.
He was unreal. Well, let's talk about that game last night. Calvin Pickard, low event night, but he did what he needed to, didn't he, Jack?
Well, and that's really been the story of his season. Struddy, he's not going to impress you with the goals against or the save percentage, but 19-8-1 speaks for itself. I mean, give me another clear-cut number 2 who's had a better season than Calvin Pickard. I mean, he has really, I think, over-delivered. He's having essentially a career season at the age of 32, soon to be 33, and he's now proven he can win some big games too. He's not just getting the soft soap starts, second of a back-to-back against the San Jose or whatever. And, I understand why it's happened where he started 3 games in a row. I'm not for a moment suggesting he's taken over as the Oilers' number one. Obviously, Stuart Skinner got banged up in the Dallas game, and Calvin Pickard has had yet another chance to kind of solidify himself as a viable option moving forward. And I think he's done that. And I think what I hear from the players in their after-game comments is they play hard for this guy. And it would not surprise me in the slightest if after the end of the first period of last night's game, and the Oilers put together 3 or 4 decent minutes at the end of the period. But that's my point. I would not be surprised if at all during the first intermission that there was some discussion amongst the players, amongst the coaching staff. Hey, are we gonna just let picks hang out to dry tonight? Like, let's put together one shift upon another. And I thought you saw a different team come out for the second period, and then Vegas went the other way. I actually thought both teams played a horrific period last night. And then the third period was your classic kind of Edmonton, Vegas, slugfest where there just wasn't a whole lot of room. And ultimately it comes down to Pavel Dorofeev having a great look and missing. And, Pickard understands that, as you said, a low event night. But at the end of the day, he's 19-8-1. I mean, that is a phenomenal season from your quote-unquote number 2 goaltender.
Absolutely incredible. Now, you're around the team all the time, and we understand that McDavid and Trent Frederic were practicing. What are you seeing from these guys?
Yeah,
what level of intensity? Yeah, and Kane as well. What level of intensity are you seeing from these guys as they hopefully start to recover and return from their injuries?
Well, my broadcast partner, Louis DeBrusk, said if that's McDavid's 80%, boy, I could have used his 40%, in my own career. I mean, he was, he's flying, he's intense. McDavid, I don't think had any intention of not making the trip, even at the beginning of the outset of the trip. He seemed ready to go. Now, having said that, do I expect him to necessarily play by the end of this trip? I think he may have a conversation or two about it, but I don't necessarily think he's going to play. I think they'll decide on the precautionary thing. And that's the way this guy ramps up to get ready to play, not even to play, to just, get ready. I still think it's probably going to be St. Louis for McDavid. It would not surprise me if Trent Frederic gets a game here. I don't know whether he'd be ready for LA, but it would not surprise me if he's in the lineup against Anaheim. And as you rightfully point out, the way this team has competed the last 2 nights, it's going to be hard to select someone to come out, because I thought in last night's game, you started to see contributions from guys who had been a little quiet. I mean, I thought that was one of Kasperi Kapanen's, best games of the year. Vasily Podkolzin is going nowhere. So, once again, it's going to be key in the next 2 games for the lineup as it stands right now to make an impact and to make it impossible for the coaching staff to consider a removal of that player. Because as you point out, Frederic's going to be the first guy back in. But I think McDavid will play against St. Louis. And, of course, you've got the specter of Evander Kane awaiting you in the playoffs. I don't think, to answer your speculation with respect to what you were talking about with Zubie, I don't think he's going to play a game in the American Hockey League. I think he's going to parachute into the lineup. But as you rightfully point out, the game gets so faster with each stage of the year. I mean, game 50 compared to game 20, game 80 compared to game 50. Mm-hmm. To have a training camp in the first round of the playoffs is a tall order. And so, and like you said, for an engine like him, and this was the case with you as well, it's not like he can just fall out of bed and play 16 minutes. And it's hard for him to get fully up to speed at 8 minutes because he's a power forward. He's a power player. Yeah. It's hard for those guys to play 8 minutes and feel any sort of conditioning peak, as you rightfully point out. So that's the catch-22 that Kane's going to be facing.
Where would you expect Trent Frederic to land if he does return prior to the end of this road trip? Tricky.
Boy, that is a very I could see him as a top 6 winger. I could see him as a third line center. I could see at the start, and again, I know you pointed out February 25th, but again, you're talking about a bit of a plow horse. I mean, a bit of a guy that he's an engine. He's a power forward. He's going to need some time. So they may conservatively start out with him, on a fourth line with maybe Henrique and Perry or Janmark and Perry to give that line a little speed at the outset, depending on how that foot ankle is doing. But in terms of where he's going to land, Struddy, it's really interesting because you were always going to have the option of putting Nugent Hopkins back on the McDavid line on the left side. But what if Evander Kane is ready to go and proves he can give you significant left wing minutes on that side? Then do you consider the three-headed monster of McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins down the middle and putting Trent Frederic on the left side with Nugent Hopkins? So when I look at it, I quite frankly could even see Frederic getting some time with McDavid and Hyman on that top line. Just speed and then 2 power guys funneling to the middle. I mean, Frederic, the malleability of this lineup at its full potential with, say, Frederic and Kane going is still a strength. Even with, some of the changeover they've had, they've still got some parts that you can really move around. And it all hinges on whether or not Chris Knobloch feels Nugent Hopkins is fully capable of winning matchups consistently when he's driving his own line from the center ice position.
Well, it's interesting you say that because that'll be the subject of my get off the fence in about 15, 20 minutes. So last one for you. The D, there's obviously no Ekholm in here. And, you look at the opportunities for Stetcher and Emberson. Is this important for these guys to get their beaks wet prior to the playoffs, knowing that Ekholm will be returned at some point?
Well, right now, I don't – I mean, Troy Stetcher just played his 60th game last night. And I think he's taken a significant lead on Ty Emberson right now. So I absolutely think it's vital for Emberson in the last 3 games of this road trip to show that he is an absolute guy that you were really going to have to think long and hard about taking out of the lineup. I think no one's been hurt more by Ekholm's absence than potentially Ty Emberson. Because remember, Struddy, Emberson first started to gain a real foothold in this lineup when he was the first guy over the boards with Ekholm on the penalty kill. When the penalty kill started to dig its way out of that hole it incurred in the first 20 games of the year. That's where Emberson, kind of got his confidence going. It's amazing the Ekholm effect on guys like Bouchard and Emberson. Whoever he plays with, when he's playing the way he's capable of playing, it's a real solidifying presence. And I think when Ekholm started to struggle, you saw, some tough moments for Bouchard at 5-on-5 and for Emberson on the penalty kill. So absolutely, with the return of Ekholm looming, much like the forwards, there's a lot of competition there. And Troy Stetcher, I'll tell you what, I didn't have him necessarily playing 65, 70 games for this squad this year. I really didn't. I mean, remember, Josh Brown and Travis Dermott were both probably slotted ahead of Stetcher at one point. Right. And now neither of them are even in Edmonton. So I give Stetcher a lot of credit. He's a pro's pro. I think the guys appreciate his compete. And when the guys appreciate your work ethic, that rubs off on the coaching staff when it comes to making those final decisions.
Jack, I really appreciate it. Enjoy your day in San Jose. I'm sure there'll be a nice journey for you and Louie walking along the beach somewhere close to your hotel.
Well, and I imagine that as soon as you finish with me and then you're, get off the fence subject, you'll go right back to, obviously the training regimen that has made you an absolute physical specimen for the last 20 years. I was very impressed to hear about how you kind of laid the groundwork for the NHL fitness we've seen today. When we both know it's the truth, it was Shona going to you and say, hey, you better pick up your game.
My buns are tight and my jeans. They're really like two apples on a surfboard, buddy. Like two apples on a surfboard.
Out of necessity. Out of necessity.
Yeah, I need
we
to.
know who
She's hotter
holds you
than
to
me.
that standard.
All right, everybody. Thanks, Jack. Jack Michaels joins us. Thanks, buddy. Have a good afternoon. Jack Michaels, the voice of your Edmonton Oilers. Always got the great insight there. And interesting times when you're trying to look at this Edmonton Oilers team, some of the injuries they have, trying to figure it out. Zubes, and I'm looking at Trent Frederic. To me, he's the most important guy they got to get back.
And seemingly the biggest question mark. Maybe not. Maybe Kane's the biggest question mark, but at least we know Kane has played with these players, has some chemistry with these guys. Frederic, we haven't seen him. Most Oiler fans probably haven't watched a ton of him, so he to me still is the bigger question mark. I want to see him too. I hope he's going to have the energy to be shot out of a cannon and show us in his first game what he could do.
100%. It's good that he's skating. Maybe Jack said maybe he's back before the end of this road trip. So 3 more games. That would be fantastic.
Awesome.
All right, let's pause here, guys. When we come back, we got Struddy's buddy, Darren Dreger, come back. We'll talk about what is more important, health or second place in the Pacific Division. We'll talk to Darren Dreger next here on Struddy's World.
If you're considering a vinyl fence, don't be fooled by cheap marketplace imitations. Get top quality vinyl fence from a trusted company with 20 years in the industry. With locations in Calgary and Edmonton, check out .ca.
McDonald's new cheesy jalapeno and bacon quarter pounder with 100% Canadian beef is here. So if you crave beefy burgers with a pretty peppery punch and pickled jalapeno peppers piled in a perfect bunch, and if you please if a cheesy taste came in threes with cheesy jalapeno pepper sauce poured with ease, and if smoky strips of bacon make burgers better, you'll love our cheesy jalapeno and bacon quarter pounder. Get this beefy, bold, bacony, melty mouthful only at McDonald's for a limited time.
Join over 250,000 Canadians who have upgraded to Canada's best mattress. Douglas is proudly made in Canada and ships directly to your door for free. Douglas is easy to set up. Enjoy perfectly balanced comfort and an easy-to-clean machine washable cover. Get a free sleep bundle with your Douglas mattress. Try risk-free for 365 nights. Get your Douglas mattress today.
Let's keep this going here today as we get into time for Struddy's Buddy, brought to you by HSC Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, HSC Core has your back when it comes to health and safety compliance. From creating and managing a tailored health and safety program that meets all legislation and core requirements, HSC Core supports clients' operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsccor.com. That's hsccor.com for more info today. There he is. Darren Dreger. Dregs, I ask you, the Oilers, is it more important to get healthy or to get second place in the Pacific Division against a team that is really good at home in the Los Angeles Kings?
Yeah. Well, you may have a different tactical answer to this, Struddy, than I do. I think that health is more important. And I listened to Jack Michaels prior to the break there. And I mean, it was distracting because he had his luggage open in the background, and he should learn to put those things away, or at least put that suitcase out of our view. But he was talking about the impact of Matthias Ekholm not being available because of bad health on Ty Emerson, the blue line overall of the Edmonton Oilers. And the good news is that those guys are all within reach now, right? And it sounds like Ekholm is probably inside a week. Stu Skinner feeling better as of yesterday, so he's not that far away. And then the big guy, of course, Connor McDavid, expected to make his return inside a week outside of the end of the regular season. For me, that's more important, just getting these guys back into the mix. And then if you can get them 3, 4 games, 5 games before the start of game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think they can then hit their stride going in.
Dregs, when you look at the Los Angeles Kings, I was doing a deep dive on them yesterday. Byfield's really coming on. Quinton's really coming on the second half of the year. And Kopitar, I'm not sure that – I don't think he understands aging like the rest of us do. So in your opinion, what would be a big challenge in a series which seems inevitable, Oilers versus Kings round 1?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's got to be a different X factor in this series from Los Angeles' perspective. I mean, for the most part, what you can expect from the Edmonton Oilers, and the fact that they're motivated by deep disappointment of losing Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. I mean, that's not lost on the Los Angeles Kings. But when I look at the X factor, I'm going to widen the margins a little bit. I mean, sorry, I know that Darcy Kemper is not that far removed from a Stanley Cup championship,
Right.
but I did not think that he was going to be as impactful as he's been for Los Angeles. You look at the other pieces. I'm sure it stings Oilers fans to see the career year that Warren Fogle has had in LA. Some of the other elements that they brought in, and I'll include Andrei Kuzmenko. Okay, who had Kuzmenko playing with Kopitar and Adrian Kempe on their bingo card when Rob Blake pulled that trade off on trade deadline day? So there's a lot of elements that go into that. But if all those pieces fall into place, then I mean, maybe the X factor for LA is going to make a difference. I remember March 7th. So we're sitting there, and when I'm not playing, solitaire or X's and O's on my phone on deadline day, I'm listening to all of the great experts that we have. And one of the best is Craig Button. And at the time, and it hasn't really changed, he put up the LA Edmonton matchup based on the current day standings, LA Edmonton in round 1. And he predicted the LA Kings would beat the Edmonton Oilers in round 1. I mean, I kind of raised my eyebrows at that point. I mean, that's a bold prediction. And I think it's as bold today, but based on how we've seen the LA Kings play, how incredible their home ice record is, I mean, if those X factors actually do factor in, then I guess it's not impossible.
Dregs, looking around the whole NHL, there seems to be a lot of impact players that are injured, including Minnesota's Kaprizov. Is there one that you think is really important for a team to get back sooner than later?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm just trying to think around the league here. Well, Matthew Tkachuk is a pretty strong factor, but then you look around that Florida lineup and you're like, okay, all right, well, it's not the end of the world. You know what the Edmonton scene is. Winnipeg, for the most part, has done okay with their injured group, and like Neil Pionk is a good NHL defenseman. He's back on ice and he'll be ready to go. There's a big question mark beside Velarde, and that would be a loss to the Winnipeg Jets if he's not able to go in game 1 of the playoffs. And then they've got Kupari as well. Beyond that, no, I don't
like Dougie
think
Hamilton
so.
in New Jersey? Where's Dougie Hamilton at?
Well, I mean, he's a long ways away. That's a complicated knee injury. That's a complicated one. But I'm trying to think. I'm missing someone here who could be ready for the start of the playoffs or may drift in to, and I can't remember off the top of my head here who it is. But I mean, isn't that the reality of where teams are this time of year? Yeah. It's not load management for some guys. It's legit. You're happy if you can get these guys back, and Edmonton has a few of those. Throw Evander Kane into that mix as well. Dougie Hamilton, though, you're right, is a pretty big loss. And at the time of that injury, Struddy, they didn't think that it was going to be as significant as it's been. But that's a tough one for them.
Huge. And then you consider their number one centerman's out as well. I mean, you take the number one D and number one center off any team, and your chances to win. And it looks like they're going to play Carolina might be a lot trickier. Drake, today the word comes out that it sounds like Sportsnet has acquired or continuing to have a long-term relationship with NHL and their deals. You know what? Listen, I'm not TSN or Sportsnet Pro either way, but I look at the NFL and the way that they dish out to various groups, whether it's Fox or CBS, even Netflix is getting games on there. I mean, is there a different approach, NHL versus NFL, the way that they're kind of handing out these deals and not having as many different voices or I guess channels kind of push out their agenda, which is to build the NFL in some case, or in this case, the NHL.
Right. Well, I'm not going to lie, and obviously I'm biased and have an invested interest in this. I thought it would be different, and there's still opportunity for it to be different. It's a creative deal that the NHL negotiated with Rogers. I mean, $11 billion for the 12-year extension. $11 billion, twice
that's a lot
what
of cash.
they paid. It's a lot of money, and to a degree they're involved, but they don't control the entire pie in all of this. And so, what isn't in insignificant is the fact that there's one night per week that is still available. Is it Monday? Is it Wednesday? I mean, if it's Monday, it's problematic for those of us in the Bell world because obviously we have Monday Night Football. If it's Wednesday, then clearly I think Bell will continue to be a player. They might be a player on both fronts. And then you had the French language package. And that's the whole enchilada. That's not just one game a week. That's the entire package, including all 4 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I know Rogers gets a taste of those sub-licenses, but for $11 billion, I would think that you'd control the entire property. Yet it sounds like the National Hockey League is going to be in control of the negotiating. So that's where, Struddy, maybe it does get even more creative, right? Is it Amazon, who we've been talking about and wondering about for a long, long time? Do they come in? They didn't love the idea of Monday nights, I don't think. Maybe they jump all over Wednesday, and maybe they negotiate another side deal with Rogers and they get a second night. So today it was made official that Rogers has taken control of the national package, but there's still some level of uncertainty around this.
Dregs, it's going to be interesting how this plays out. I know that it'll also affect the American deal, and the salary cap will continue to rise off of the backs of these big deals. So thanks a lot, Darren Dreger from TSN, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Struddy. And I know you started this show in a tough way, so just let me pass along my condolences to the McCurdy family as well.
Yeah, amazing guy, and so much different insight. My DMs with him, I loved them, and he was always he's like, I agreed with you or didn't agree with you, but whatever he said, he was so calm. And in a hockey market like Edmonton, calm is unique, Dregs, as I'm sure you know there in Toronto.
Well, short, but a life well lived. So nicely said, Struddy.
Thanks, Dregs. Thanks for this time, and thanks for the wishes I'll pass along to the McCurdy family. Take care.
All the best.
All right, that was Darren Dreger, Struddy's buddy, and a great tribute to our good buddy Bruce McCurdy as with the tributes continue to pour in here today. Let's take a look at the standings now. Zoom's brought to our good buddy by Painted by Michaela. If your home interior is feeling dull or outdated, Painted by Michaela knows that fresh coats are in season all year round. From winter to summer, their dependable quality service delivers a clean, flawless finish every time, done by professionals you can trust. Proudly serving the Edmonton area, they are ready to transform your space. Call 780-935-8608 today, and nothing smells cleaner and fresher than a fresh coat of paint. Zoobs, what do you got for the standings today?
Yeah, we'll check in as we always do on the Pacific Division here. You can see the Golden Knights have clinched a berth. And with both teams winning last night, both the Kings and Oilers stay that same number of games played. Kings with that 2-point lead. And it's going to be a race to the finish here between those two teams. And they have 2 games head-to-head still, right? One, I believe they have 2, right?
I think so, yeah.
So that's going to go a long way to determining that. Then I wanted to jump over and look at the East wild card because we've talked about this a little bit before, but just quickly, you can see the Leafs there in first in the Atlantic and the 2 Canadian teams. Now, I didn't show the further down in the wild card, of course, Columbus, the Rangers still hanging in there, but I don't know if I've ever been cheering so much for the Leafs to finish first in their division because it's very likely that we get an all-Canadian matchup if they're able to do that. And I just think that would be so cool. All-Canadian matchups always, move the needle. And for me, whether you like the Leafs or you hate the Leafs, I think you'd be tuning in to watch that in the first round. So pretty cool stuff. Looking forward to that.
Could you imagine if the Leafs lose to Ottawa in the first round? Oh. I don't even want to dream. I don't even want to dream about that. Like that is... Zoobs, I'm not a mean guy, but I love chaos in the universe, and that is pure chaos. If Ottawa with Dylan Cousins, who by the way was -4 last night against his old team, beats the Leafs, oh man, it just I think I might have to fly to Toronto, just walk down Main Street with my Ottawa Senators jersey on because it'd just be unbelievable to see.
Would you even get your regular spot on Overdrive that way, or would they say, "Oh, no. Sorry, Struddy, we had to skip you this week"?
I'd be fired. Don't even kid about it, dude. I'd be fired on the spot, and that's fine. Like I don't need 1,000 jobs. I have 999 still after that. So It'd be fine. Listen, let's pause here. We got lots to get to in playing the field, and then get off your fence. We're going to talk about Nuge Hopkins and his role at center.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause. Thanks for all of you listening. Thanks. Tell a friend. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate you sticking around this lunch hour. We'll get to what's going on around the world of sports next here on Struddy's World.
Dennis here from Weiss Johnson. Are you looking to get into the trades or have a kid graduating high school wondering what to do? Weiss Johnson is looking for career-minded people to work for us. Opportunities truly are endless. Become a service technician, gas fitter, refrigeration technician, install residential or commercial heating and plumbing systems, fireplace installations or service, duct cleaning. We are the company where you can learn all aspects of the trade and pick which career path to take. We have an awesome benefits package and offer school reimbursement too. Visit wjcareers.com today.
For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit belvederegcc.com today.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
Welcome back to Struddy's World. Now it's time to play the field. Brought to you by Play Alberta, the official gambling partner of your favorite Alberta sports teams. Whatever jersey you wear, even a Flames one, Play Alberta is rooting for you to have fun. Bet on your favorites, get in on odds boosts, and make the playoffs more interesting. Get a $50 free bet this month by depositing with code GYB04 at playalberta.ca. All right, Zubie, let's get into this. Torpedo bats. If you haven't heard about this, it is like the Yankees are just mauling the rest of the league because of their illegal bats. Hold on, they're not illegal. So what torpedo bats are is they put more meat of the bat around kind of the middle where they feel that they may be hit. Now, each player is different. My understanding is about 5 players on the Yankees are using them, and the Yankees are off to a historic start as far as hitting home runs. Other players are using them as well, but they're not the New York Yankees. If the Milwaukee Brewers are using, this is not quite as big a story. The Yankees are hitting home runs at a historic rate, so there's some discussion that the commissioner may use his right to remove them from all usage because of an unfair usage and what it's doing to the league. But Zubie, these are not illegal bats. I think we have to make people understand they're not illegal bats, and they've been available for a while. And yet here the Yankees are using them. Now all of a sudden everyone's blaming the Yankees for using them.
Yeah, the weight is the same. The amount of mass within the bat is the same, and they just shifted the sweet spot. And I guess that was why they targeted certain batters, because they said these are guys who get jammed inside a little bit. So we're going to move the sweet spot, but to keep the weight the same, then they have to taper it off at the end. So what the craziest part of it to me is just that's like how long, I know equipment, these bats have changed over time, but how long has the current bat been the bat? And then somebody just at the Yankees just figured this out now. But I'll tell you, I saw something on Twitter. I don't have it clipped, but somebody found an old Easton that's called the Torpedo. There was like some minor league team or whatever found an aluminum bat that's like 30 years old. That was the Easton Torpedo, and it was the same shape. So it's not completely new, this concept, but the fact that one team comes in, starts the year, works in the offseason, comes in and starts the year and is blowing it up is just like bizarre to me. Is there a hockey equivalent? Maybe the carbon fiber, the current one-piece sticks that we use, but what's the hockey equivalent of this in your mind, Struddy?
When I used to use a wood stick, and they were called branches. And then I got a one-piece stick, and honestly, Zubie, it's like my life changed. I couldn't believe how much easier it was to shoot, to pass. Everything was just quicker off your stick. So I felt a massive difference. And if you went to the NHL now the players now, and said, hey, you've got to use these wood sticks the guys used to use 20, 30 years ago, I'm telling you, the passes wouldn't be as hard. The shots wouldn't be as hard on average. Now, the top guys, Al McInnes could still just blow it through your foot. But on average, you couldn't shoot it as hard. It's way easier to shoot with these sticks because the sticks do the work. It used to be us doing the work. Now the sticks do the work. So it'll be interesting to see if and when the league comes down on these bats that weren't illegal 6 months ago. Anyone could have got these sticks. Now, my understanding, there's an MRT professor that got involved and he kind of got everyone dialed in. So that maybe makes a difference. But let's be clear, this isn't PEDs. These are legal bats, Zubie.
Yeah, and you want, every game seems to want offense in the game. It'll be the pitchers who don't want it, but everyone else wants offense in their game. So to me, I hope it's controversial right now because there's, it's slants so heavily towards only one team using them, but I hope they don't. I hope they keep them because more offense, more home runs. What did they say back in the 90s? Chicks dig the long ball. That was like, used to actually be a slogan for Major League Baseball or Nike, whoever did that campaign. So keep those in the game. Starting over at 61, I'm not surprised, just era-wise, that he says, I had the Easton Torpedo softball bat years ago.
But he used it for bunting. He was bunting. Let's be honest. Starting with 61, you were bunting. Like, don't act like you were, whoever, Mickey Mantle, hammering out of the zone every day.
A real hot bunt down the third baseline. Yeah.
Item number 2, Randy Ambrosie, the 7-year commissioner of the CFL, decided to step down, and he would just sometime in 2025 he would step down. They've been looking, the CFL, they've been looking for a new person to take over, and they found them. And it is the president of TSN, Stuart Johnson. Now, TSN is a group that gives up about my understanding is about $5 million a year to the CFL, give or take, in being able to show their videos. Stuart Johnson is the president of that group. He's coming in. And listen, I will admit it, I'm a big fan of the CFL. I like the idea of Canadian football. I like the idea of things that are Canadian. I'm a big fan of it. I think Stuart Johnson comes in. Yeah, there's a little bit of, a little bit of already, I know what's all about. But Stuart Johnson understands what TSN's looking for. He understands what fans looking for. And I think that'll help the CFL. Stuart Johnson's not a former player like Randy Ambrosie, who, did he improve the league? Well, he definitely got him in better footing ownership-wise. Look in Edmonton, look in BC, look in some of these other places. Yeah. I wonder now what Stuart Johnson can do, Zubie, knowing what the fan wants. What experience does the fan want? And I think that's really important for a new commissioner of the CFL to come in and understand.
Yeah, and it seems to me like he's coming from the right place, that they need to find a way to market or remarket the game. I'm a fan also, but I'll admit, kind of my interest has waned a little bit in the last few years. There was a time at which I was pretty invested in the CFL, especially when I was living in Edmonton. And I do think it's a great and unique game. But they need to address that. They need to be able to make stars. They need to have guys stick around in the league. And I know with the other leagues popping up, that's becoming more and more difficult. But yeah, it seems like this guy's coming from the right place to address those issues in the Canadian game and hopefully get it back on the map a little bit.
The big challenge for him now, and I'm just going to speak to him because I'm not in other markets, is going to get to fans back in the seats here in Edmonton. And I think part of that's winning. But Edmonton has a long tradition of being a good football city, supporter of CFL. We've got to get fans back in the seats here. And I know that's not his only job. There's other markets in and around, but Edmonton should be and can be a really important piece of this here in the CFL. And I'd be looking at the new ownership group here and the new management. Hey, how do we get people here, Chris Morris?
Yeah, I like the moves they've made in Edmonton. I love the coaching change but it'll all be judged by what happens on the field as far as putting butts in the seats. So hopefully they can start to turn that around.
100%. We thanks everyone for joining us. We've got a great stream here today. If you're listening, maybe give us a thumbs up on Facebook. If not, tell a friend as you're on Twitter. Our last item today, there's big people in the world, Zoobs, and we love the March Madness. You and I did a bracket, and I'd rather not talk about how mine is going here, if I'm going to be honest. But there's a Canadian, Olivier Rioux, and he is 7'9", I believe, or 7'8", I think.
7'9" is what they've got him listed at.
7'9", which is crazy. Like that's like a ladder. Just call yourself a ladder. So I believe you have the picture of him trying to cut down a net after Florida Gators win a game. Look at this. That's how it looks when I change a light bulb on a side lamp beside my couch. Look how big he's compared to his buddies. This guy's a monster, and he's Canadian, and he's a beast. How do you reach up and touch something? That's a 10-foot net. That's not a 6-foot net that Ryan Rashog dunks on, Zubie.
He's cutting it down after Florida advanced to the Final Four without the lad. He's standing next to the ladder. It's crazy. They've got this guy listed as 7'9", 305 pounds is his listed weight, which obviously you can see him in the picture on the right. He ain't heavy. He is just a huge dude. That's crazy. And I don't know how, you know what's funny? Do you know who Rob Hislop is, Struddy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
got to shout him out. I forget what we used to call him. The big, we used to play a pickup basketball game when I lived in Edmonton, and I'm not a great basketball player. I'm okay. I'm probably more of a passer. I'm certainly not a dunker. Yeah, I know that comes as a surprise.
Come on.
We used to, but I'm smart enough that when we played, we'd play this pickup game. Rob Hislop played. I was just feeding it to him. He'd get under the net. I'd feed, and Rob Hislop is, I don't know, maybe 6'4", 6'5". Like he's a big dude, but he ain't 7'9". And that was whenever I played and he was on my team. Let's just get it to Rob under the basket so he can finish that at 6'5". And then you could just imagine what a guy at 7'9", almost 8 feet. It's insane.
It's insane. Like, can you imagine his bed? Can you imagine flying, trying to get in a car, buying pants? Like, it's such a hard thing. So we'll see where Olivia Rioux ends up.
So,
all right, that was.
Oh, you know what? Do you want to? Really quick. I won't even bring.
I don't really want to. I don't. But go ahead. I don't want to. Go ahead, buddy.
I do have it, but I don't. Let's see if I forgot to put it in here. Let's see. I was going to just drag it into this shot. Let's see if this will work here. Okay, here we got this is the bracket. This is the Struddy's World official bracket challenge, and it's Jordan. I think that's one of our regular contributors, but I'm not sure who it is. He's just got his name is off the glass and out. He's sitting pretty there, tied with Kevin. They've both got 95 points. You can see I'm down here in 10th. I lost 3 of my final 4 all on the same day. I was looking good for a minute, but not anymore. Struddy's down there. It doesn't go down far enough to show your team, Struddy. Yeah. You're in 20th out of 24. Ooh. We appreciate the effort. Shout out also to my buddy Liam here from my hockey team. He's in 6th. Maybe something good can still happen for him here. He's the highest. He's always Anyway, it's been fun following along on there. We appreciate everybody who joined. We'll start doing more interactive stuff like this on the show as well. But Struddy just getting absolutely crushed in the bracket.
Crushed. Maybe next week we're going to do a Masters poll. I think a Masters pool.
Yes.
I think that would be fun. So maybe I'm in 20 or 24th. Like, that's embarrassing. But I knew I was in trouble. I knew I was absolutely in trouble. All right, that was Playing the Field. Let's shift gears now. Time to get off the fence. This is where Zubie really shines. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. As Alberta's number one vinyl product supplier, DLR offers top quality materials to build a fence or deck that won't rot, fade, or fall apart. Who doesn't want to have that? If you need a skilled contractor to take care of the job or prefer a DIY approach, DLR can help you set up with all you need. Canadian owned and operated with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Visit them today online at dlrvinylproducts.ca. Again, you don't need any work. Once you get it up and done, it's over. You're not painting the fence. You're not sanding like we saw Daniel's son do. All right, Zubie, hang on to your hat. I feel like you and I might butt heads on this one a little bit. I believe Nugent Hopkins should be a center and only a center as the Oilers work their way into the playoffs. Since going to center, he's moving his feet. He's getting way more points, and he looks way more engaged in the game. A byproduct of Nugent Hopkins playing center means that Draisaitl, if required, can play left wing with Connor McDavid. What more can you want? That's the best of all worlds. You've got Nuge at center. He can do a lot of things and still throw up for maybe the most killer line in the league, Leon, Connor, and a garbage can. So I believe that Nuge should be at center from now on, even when Connor comes back from center. What say you?
Well, I guess the chemistry, because of the injuries and guys coming back, I guess I'm a little bit worried about chemistry. So to me, the best chemistry is still Nuge, Connor, and Hyman. Maybe they haven't shown it this year, but I mean, that's the old reliable. They crushed it last year. We're very good in the playoffs. So do you give that a couple? Do you at least go there and give that a couple games, or you want to roll with Nuge at center right through to the playoffs?
What I'm going to do is so if Trent Frederic comes back, I'm probably putting him up with McDavid right away. I'm going to put him up there right away. Now it depends. If Leon doesn't go up there, then I give Frederic to Leon. Maybe I put him Frederic, Leon, and Arvidsson.
Right.
And then I have McDavid, Hyman, and maybe it would be Paul Colson, because I want to give a little bit more scoring on the punch of Leon, and two guys that can probably score more often than we'll see from Paul Colson, right? And then you have Nugent Hopkins, and that's the problem. We have to find out Nugent Hopkins' line. That's a challenge. But I love the way Nugent Hopkins skating. That pass last night on the power play, come on. He looked like I thought he was going to shoot. Everyone in my house was like, shoot Nuge. Then he passed over to Leon, and he passed it. And we haven't seen that. Not that he doesn't have the skill to do it, Zubes, but he hasn't had that, I'm taking this here my way, and everyone just figure out what I'm doing and react to it.
And I will grant you that I believe in watching that was fully his intention. He pulled it, kind of came a little bit to the left. He was really trying to draw those guys over. Queen Beamy saying she's on your side. They should leave Nuge at center. He's more confident there, and that's echoing what you're saying. You see the confidence. I guess the only other pitfall I would see is that, maybe it's not a huge drop off down to the third line, but if you value Nuge's contributions, you're taking away some 5-on-5 ice time for him. Now we know he's on PP1 and PK1, or he's on the PK either way. So he's going to get his ice time. And like I said, maybe it's not a huge drop off, but that would be the other counterpoint, I think, is he's very good defensively, and you're losing some of that if you limit his 5-on-5 time.
Yeah, 100%. One last one as we go back into the Digital Mattresses YouTube poll or YouTube chat. And this one's coming in from, who is it now? Is it Taman? He said, haven't seen Nuge play this good since the Vancouver series last year. So that is where my head is at. My head is space is to leave him at center, to continue him moving that forward. Again, that was the Douglas Mattresses inbox.
I
any
think
final thoughts, Sue?
Well,
We'd
on
love
that,
to hear from you.
On that, I think certainly, depth down the middle is a huge, something that you see very often in championship winning teams. I do think it's extremely important. I'll also bring in, I did put this up as a poll as well. What position do you prefer Nuge to play? To the people on the stream, 87% said center, and that was even before you got to convince them here. Largely, most of that came in before. So 87% saying center, only 12% on the wing. Over 100 votes from our active digital stream today.
Yeah, appreciate it. A lot of people tuning into it. Really appreciate it. Let's get then now to where everyone can just ask me questions or Zoobs. Time for Ask Struds. Brought to you by McDonald's. $5.99 meals with McDonald's McValley meals. You get an all-star team for only $5.99. Like the junior chicken, the snack wrap. I had a couple the other day. How's she doing? Or the McDouble McValue meal. Make your choice today. Thanks for joining us here, everyone, by the way, in McDonald's, one of our good sponsors. Zoobs, what are the people asking? What do they want to know?
On Evander Kane, our buddy Gord Parch saying, I bet he's been pushing his cardio for months now. I'm sure he's been working on that. He has the knee problem, might limit the ways he's able to do that. But I would imagine that the cardio training, it's easier than doing something on ice. So would you assume that's a big part of what he's been doing building up to this point anyway?
So the challenge is that when you have a sore knee or even the core, it's difficult to do anything that can really help your cardio. So I remember when I've hurt my knees a number of times. You might not be surprised here. I wasn't fast enough to get out of the way of all the hits. They have an upper body like bike where you just get your arms on it and you're just spinning your arms all the time.
Right.
And that would help your cardio. But let's be honest, that's a long ways from my massive quads or big ass. And I was unable to really get sorry for the very
For the visual, yes.
visual you need to hear, but I wasn't able to maybe get in as good a shape as I could have, but it helps. The reality is you need to be on ice to get that. And again, so if you just joining us, I feel like, you can get up to speed 10, 20 seconds, but a shift isn't 10 to 20 seconds. We're not bowling here. We're trying to go for 40, 50, 60 seconds of continuous forechecking, of continuous back checking, being physical, or even a net front battle, a corner battle. That requires a lot of energy to get it up and going to. So the only thing that I feel can do it is on ice battles. And I think we heard Christian Albach speak yesterday saying he needs Trent Frederic needs to get in some on ice battles. So those take time. It can be done. But the challenge is for those Frederic and Kane, especially Kane, to be playing when he comes back, but still building that up. And how do you manage that? Just coming off some pretty significant surgeries, not even 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Okay. Colin Williams, he said he's pushing this, so I thought I'd put it out there. He says he wants Kane, Frederic, Perry. Trent Frederic is listed as a center. It seems like everyone assumes he plays the wing. On the fourth line, let them warm up and be bangers and crashers. Maybe later he moves up the lineup. I believe he's referring to Kane. But him and Frederic would be amazing fourth liners. What do you think of that line with Corey Perry? As someone else in here called it an identity line.
I don't like the idea of playing against that line. That's for sure. Now, the challenge is that do the Oilers have the depth to put Frederic down on the fourth line? And is there the speed required on the wings there for the Oilers to have that to be an effective line? Perry, we know what he's like. The speed, and he's had an amazing career. He's near the end of his career. Kane, we have no idea how he's going to come back and play. No idea. What's his speed going to be like? What's his footwork going to be like? All those things. So is that line going to be, it's heavy. And once they get in the other end, ground and pound like George St. Pierre in a fun Saturday night UFC fight. But can he do it, or can they do it, in an up-tempo game? Now, the Kings are pretty fast. They're not crazy fast. Vegas is pretty quick. Dallas can be quick. Colorado's fast. So that's my concern. So would I put them all together at once? No. But we know Knobloch finds his way, usually after a game or two in the series. Maybe that's a line that he finds maybe in the second or third round, if that's where the Oilers get to.
Yeah, actually, a couple of questions sort of continuing on that same thought. Nick Biscupick says, for an underachieving Oilers team all season, playing a motivated LA in the first round worries me. Might take Edmonton a round to figure their lineup out. Continuing the same thought, Gord Parch says they're going to have a bunch of options once they get everyone back. But I was going to suggest, is it possible they're going to have too many options? Do you remember when I think it was 2 years ago, close to the deadline, the Leafs traded for like 4 defensemen? Like way more than they needed. And that's not always, it wasn't necessarily their problem. But do you get into a situation with so few games left and a motivated first round opponent that you have too many options?
Well, I think the options, you have to figure out how they fit together. It's like when you go to a restaurant, there's a massive restaurant menu, and you're trying to figure out what you want. You have no idea what you want. When I have 5 options, I know I want the French onion soup with a steak.
Right.
So that's the challenge for Knobloch, is to identify quickly how these pieces fit together. Trent Frederic, no one has any idea. No idea where he fits together. So I'm looking forward to seeing where, if he can get back, we heard Jack Michaels talk, maybe on this road trip, can he get back and find a spot early? I would play him with Leon right away. I would. Now, others are talking maybe Nuge on third line. That's fine. But find him a place and let him start figuring out his identity on this team and how he can fit in with them. Zub, a couple more first, buddy.
So we'll go one. I just want to follow up on that, and then I'll ask one more. So you asked Dregs, what's more important, getting home ice or being healthy? But is there a third option that's having guys play together and find chemistry? Like, do you think it's important to get guys back for that aspect of things?
Yeah. So number one, I think the health is massively important. I mean, McDavid at 50% doesn't make sense. So the second part is to get them back as fast as they can so they can play together and develop that chemistry. And then for me, the third is the home ice versus LA. Now, I would like to have home ice versus LA. They're a better team. Fans, listen to me. This team is good. You mentioned Kemper, Zubes. I think Quinton Byfield is becoming a monster. I think Warren Fogle drives the puck hard to the net. The Oilers' D are pretty big, so they should be able to handle some of that. But they've got talent through that lineup. But I believe the Oilers have to get healthy and then chemistry. And if they have those two things, I believe they can carry their day against the Kings, hopefully Vegas, and then you're on to either who's it going to be, Dallas, Carolina, or Colorado, or Winnipeg.
Ouch. That's a tough road, man. What was I? Shoot, I had something else I was going to follow up on that, but I lost it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We'll go to this last one. We'll go to this last one. Something a little bit different. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Just that I would normally slot those three things the same way as you, except LA's home record being so good. Yeah. Makes it a little bit frightening to make that your the third priority. But you got those two head-to-heads, so you can, there's still a lot of runway left in that regard, but you can help yourself a lot by beating LA in those head-to-heads. Okay, last one here from JL. Was there a second sport Struddy thought he could turn pro at if hockey didn't work?
Oh, I'm very arrogant. I thought I could do everything. And I remember that I could be a basketball player. Then I went down to a summer camp when I was in grade 11, between grade 11 and 12, to Washington State. And before the tournament, Washington State Cougars, my whole team, we went down there from Archbishop McDonald High School, a nerd factory. And that's a good thing, by the way. And we went down there, and I was playing pickup basketball with a bunch of guys before the camp even started. And I jumped up for a rebound, and I jumped up, and I'm not kidding, this guy jumped so high, his crotch was in my face. That's how high he jumped. His belt buckle hit my forehead. And I remember thinking that as I came down really quickly, I'm like, basketball's not for me. I will never make it as a basketball player. And I dedicated myself to the great sport of hockey. So we all need those humbling moments. And I was being a decent, like a probably just below average basketball player in Edmonton is a long ways away from trying to play college basketball in a college like Washington State, just over the border.
Yeah, and that guy I'm guessing wasn't 7'9" who did that to you.
No, it wasn't LeBron James at 11 years old or 10 years old.
Yeah. I was, okay. You know what? I mean, I never played pro anything. Hockey, probably my best sport, but I'm the jack of all trades, master of none. When it comes to sports, I was always, I could be average to above average in every sport. I knew guys who were great basketball players, couldn't hit a baseball, like would swing and whiff, completely whiff, couldn't hit a baseball, or never learned how to skate or anything like that. So I wish I had excelled enough in one sport to make things a little bit, make a possibility out of it, but that was never me. But I love playing, and I can play a little bit of everything, which is fun now with the kids, exposing them to everything. Dad can beat them at everything so far. We'll see.
Until they turn 10 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I'm starting to realize where I'm at as well in the grand scheme of things. All right, everybody. That was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by McDonald's. Really appreciate it. Everyone, we've had a great day today. Great numbers on the stream, great feedback, great guests. Jack Michaels, obviously, we had Zubes with us, Darren Dreger, we had Ryan Rashog at the beginning. But I think we really have to acknowledge the passing of Bruce McCurdy. Bruce McCurdy, he was like that uncle, an uncle to me in many ways. After I retired, we started DMing on Twitter. And he would say, he would say, this is what I think, and what do you think? And acknowledge something I liked that I said. Then he wanted me to acknowledge something he said. And I had a lot of great DM conversation. I think I only met him in person a few times, but I really enjoyed listening to him on the Low Tide Show, and I enjoyed his interactions we had on Twitter and on other places. I heard from him just as recently as 2 weeks ago when he was kind of talking about a situation that happened in his family. So, tonight, as we all go through our normal goodbye or good night, just give an extra shout out to Bruce McCurdy and remember us in our thoughts. I will have an extra steep drink tonight for Bruce. I really enjoyed him, and I will truly miss it. I'm really saddened about the passing of Bruce McCurdy from the Cult of Hockey, and I feel poorly for his family and his work partner, David Staples. Zubes.
Yeah, I didn't know Bruce, hadn't met him, but I had listened to their show, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, I liked his perspective, and he seemed just kind of like, seemed like the big teddy bear.
Amazing.
And yeah, really sad day. And, pretty cool though about seeing the Oilers win last night, sending the tweet, never in doubt. Somewhat fitting, albeit a really sad day, obviously, for his friends and his family.
And I always got two things I'll leave you with here, Zubes. I think he really enjoyed watching this Oilers team, and he loved the stars. He loved astrology. He was always talking about it. And the second thing is, I truly feel, he never said this, I'm putting words in Bruce's mouth. I truly felt that if he built an NHL team, he would have let me be his 8th defenseman. So, so you're never allowed to play, but you can practice, Struddy.
Yeah.
I think that's what somewhere Bruce is screaming that into his mic right now. So, again, have Bruce in your thoughts tonight as we all, think about a great Oilers kind of media contributor. Bruce McCurdy, thanks for listening to everybody. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday. We'll be back for GYB pod tomorrow night after the San Jose Oilers game. Rest easy, Bruce.
Yeah, well, it's Struddy. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week.